Hello, everyone. On behalf of the MEC State Action Team from Michigan, my name is Raya Samet.
And I'm Kendra Lake. So to begin, we want to introduce ourselves to everyone, acknowledging the fact that we do have a number of members who have come and gone from our state action team, and a huge thanks to them for all of the time and energy that they put into their project. This is our current MEC State Action Team. We call it our Michigan OER Network Steering Committee. We have representation from universities, we have representation from community colleges, private colleges, as well as the K-12 world. So we've got the Michigan Department of Education, Michigan Community College Association is also represented, as well as the Midwest Collaborative for Library Services. So before we talk a little bit about what we've done and where we're going, we wanted to provide some context with regards to how our state currently functions from a standpoint of support for open education. So Michigan is a Go Open state on the PK-12 level. And so that provides some structure to the K-12 world. When it comes to academic libraries and Department of Higher Education, we don't have a university system or a statewide system that is in place. So that kind of directly affects the support for this type of work and how we're able to connect and collaborate together. There are also a few state laws that are related to higher education that are pertinent to open education, which means that we don't have certain mandates that we need to follow. And so participation in this type of work occurs on sort of an opt-in or voluntary basis. So as that, the Michigan OER Action Team decided to launch the Michigan OER Network in 2020 to try to serve as a collective voice for that entire community from PK all the way through university, so that we could try to collaborate and communicate and work together to advocate and encourage the use and development of OER across the education spectrum. So how did we get started? In 2018, the statewide OER capacity survey went out to all institutions of higher ed in Michigan, and that came through following the MEC Summit that took place in 2018, so that we could get a feel for where everyone was currently at with regards to open in higher education. We formed the Michigan OER Network in 2020. That followed a few different iterations. We initially thought we were going to become a 501c3 nonprofit, but during that planning process, we really realized that our needs really fit more loosely into a network as opposed to a nonprofit. So we use MCLS as our fiscal agent to help us with any coming and going of funding, but we are primarily just an informal network. So as a part of our work, we did take over the planning of the Michigan OER Summit from the Michigan Community College Association. The Michigan Community College Association had been planning the summit for a number of years in person and had a pretty good attendance base with community college participants. However, when the Michigan OER Network took it over, 2021 was our first summit, and we moved virtual for all of the reasons that everybody moved everything virtual. And we were able to expand attendance from approximately 150 to about 550 to 600 people per year. And so this provided people from a variety of geographic backgrounds to be able to participate. And it also gave us the opportunity to have speakers come to our summit that were either very local or national speakers as well. So we launched the Michigan OER Network website and Google group in 2020. And this is our primary means of communicating with all of our membership. So our Google group currently has about 550 people who are members, and members can post and share amongst this group. And the network serves as sort of our repository for all of our archived information on our professional development activities. And it also serves host to the Michigan Explorer Certificate, which is a partnership between the Michigan Academic Library Association's OER interest group and the Michigan OER Network. The Michigan OER Network hosts that so that it can expand its reach beyond academic libraries to reach people in higher ed or K-12 as well. So as we've developed this work, the intention of the network was to bring people together. So as a part of that, we've developed a number of partnerships over the last few years, some of who support the group financially and some of who serve as members on our steering committee. So MCLS, the Michigan Collaborative or Midwest Collaborative for Library Services, serves as our fiscal agent. And we also have membership on the steering committee from MCLS. Similarly, the Michigan Community College Association has representation on our steering committee and has supported us financially in the past. We wouldn't be anywhere without the Midwest Higher Education Compact support. And they have supported us financially and also on a staffing perspective as we've planned various professional development activities and hosted summits. And they've even served as presenters at some of our events as well. We received grant funding from the Library of Michigan and Institute of Museum and Library Services to help us with our activities as well. We have a member of the Michigan Department of Education on our steering committee, and both Wayne State and Michigan State University have provided financial support to the Michigan OER network in the past.
So Kendra's told you about where we've been, and we'd like to focus especially on about the last year and what we've been up to. So after a couple of really successful virtual summits during the pandemic years, we heard from our members that in-person was really important to them. So we scaled way down to do a mini conference at Wayne State University in Detroit, where we brought together 47 in-person attendees for some more intensive networking, an unconference style small discussion, as well as panel and regular presentations. And we heard wonderful things, that it was really impactful, powerful, and allowed people to make more lasting connections with peers from all over the state. We're also planning to continue offering virtual PD and learning opportunities online this winter, which we think will once again broaden our reach to a wider audience, especially people who aren't able to travel for reasons of geography or other resources. The other thing we've been working on is reviewing our mission statement and our visioning to prepare for strategic planning going forward. We would really like to grow what the representational side looks like on our steering committee, and sort of our ability to operationalize and to reach a wider audience of stakeholders. So here's what's coming up, we think. Here are our goals for the next 5 years. We'd like to reprise the capacity survey that Kendra mentioned we did in 2018 to see where we are now, and to give us a better perspective on what we can do going forward. We'd also like to take a step into the state policy and advocacy space, especially where it regards course marking and policies set by the legislature around OER. We don't currently have funding or sharing models that are consortial across the state, but we'd like to do more exploration about possibilities there. And of course, we'd like to continue convening statewide PD and conference events in multiple formats. There's also an exciting potential new state department that was announced by our governor called MyLeap. And if and when that becomes a reality soon, we think that there is real potential there that we could leverage, and possibly a home for some of these activities, and a place to coordinate these kinds of initiatives. And finally, while MCCA has been wonderful about reporting the statistics for the community colleges, we think that expanding this to other higher education bodies, colleges and universities of all kinds, would be extremely powerful and would give us the data we need to make some of the arguments to do some of the other work. So we'd like to try to expand there. And MEC can help us in these 4 key areas to get to all of these goals. First, in policy and advocacy, we know that the MEC commissioners are smart and well-connected people, and we need to pick their brains and to leverage their connections in order to start some of our advocacy work. We'd like to make make consortial sharing a reality. So that starts with awareness, but also building support for potential coordination for repositories, shared publishing apparatus, and also coordinating of grant applications across institutions. Fundraising is key because some of this work does take money and resources, and we're going to need it in order to do some big things. And finally, we need to kick off strategic planning because having a big vision means you have to start with a solid plan. On behalf of Kendra and myself and all of the statewide Michigan MEC Action Team, thank you so much.